It's that time of year, and I'm already sick of talking about it. I'm sure Michigan fans are sick and tired of hearing about it, but Jim Harbaugh to the NFL rumors are swirling around as the Wolverines prepare for their first national championship appearance in over 2 decades. But the differences between this year and last year and the year before that, it might actually come true. What are the reasons why Jim Harbaugh would come back to Michigan for 2024? But what are the reasons he would want to go to the NFL? Let's talk about it. But if you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus anything going on with the national championship news, we got a Big Ten bout coming to NRG Stadium a year early. Anything going on with the transfer portal, anything going on with just college football in general. Make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on if you think Jim Harbaugh will return to Ann Arbor in 2024. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionado fans, and Michigan people everywhere about this channel because we are on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. Subscribe. Make sure you follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations around our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Jim Harbaugh to the NFL has been a thing for the last 3 years. We know this, and we know this quite well. In 2021, he goes and interviews for the Minnesota Vikings job. And ultimately, Kevin O'Connell gets the title, and he comes back to Michigan. And he leads Michigan to an undefeated season and a college football playoff berth. And then the rumors start back up again. This is the year Harbaugh's going back to the NFL. But he doesn't, and now he leads Michigan to another undefeated season and another Big Ten title. But this time, they actually conquer the demons of internal conflict by defeating Alabama in overtime in the Rose Bowl. And so now they actually have a shot at playing for a national title, which is why the rumors, I think, are actually turning more so into facts than opinions. Jim Harbaugh doesn't have much left to prove at Ann Arbor. He doesn't. He's been there for over 8 years. He is going to go down as one of the most successful coaches in program history. He's brought you to countless Big Ten title appearances. He's brought you to 3 back-to-back-to-back college football playoff appearances. And he's in line and is 60 minutes away from winning a national title. But what are the pros about coming back to Michigan? I am so glad you asked, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it. Number one, stability at the job. We've already heard the rumors about what the contract could entail if Jim Harbaugh is to sign on the dotted line. 11 years, $125 million. That honestly just feels like a lifetime contract in my opinion. And when I talk about lifetime, I legit mean he won't be coaching in 11 years. So that is the lifetime deal. That's a lot of money. That is enough money to where you can retire, your family can retire, your grandkids that haven't even been born yet never have to worry about a damn thing. And the stability of what you have in a place like Ann Arbor, you will forever be enshrined. Not just because of a quarterback, but also a coach. You did things different than Cliff Kingsbury, who fizzled and failed out immediately in Lubbock, or Scott Frost in Lincoln, pride in Nebraska. Now, kind of the slapdick joke, if we're being completely honest. You'll have that stability. Number two, you're always going to be a player in the college football playoff because of expansion. Coaches like Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban, I would even throw Urban Meyer if he ever wanted to get back into coaching. Those are guys who probably are delaying the inevitable retirement because of the college football playoff expansion. Because every year, you know you're going to get some very up-and-coming teams find their way into a 12-team postseason where maybe we'll see a Wisconsin go or a Ole Miss go or a Missouri go, or we can throw maybe a Duke in there with Manny Diaz, or we can go out West Coast, talk about maybe Washington State or Oregon State. But you're still going to have the premier programs in college football because of their ability to recruit, work the transfer portal, and build rosters capable of going to the NFL. Alabama's always going to be mentioned in the college football playoff. Michigan's always going to be mentioned in the college football playoff. Ohio State, I'll throw Georgia in the mix. I would probably say at this point, either Clemson or Florida State, you can pencil their name in. I wouldn't write it in pen, but I would write it in pencil because I can always erase the error. But in that sense, you know that you're pretty much secure. And as long as you get to the postseason, you're always going to have a shot. I mean, you're not going to see many opt-outs, and don't make a mistake. I think that in the very near future, we will see opt-outs from teams with rosters that are playing in the college football playoff. But you're still Michigan. You're still a team that feels complete. I mean, look at the way the roster played against Alabama. Jim Harbaugh outcoached Nick Saban, number one. And number two, the depth on that trenches Offensive line and defensive line is second to none. I mean, you lose Zach Zenter and it feels like nothing. It feels like, oh, we actually are improving with our offensive line because now we feel better about Blake Corum getting yards after contact. We feel better about the running lanes for Donovan Edwards and the protection for JJ McCarthy. So you're always going to be a player in the college football playoff. And number three, and probably the biggest thing, life isn't always greener on the other side. Now, that's usually true when it comes to transfer portal players. Sometimes if you go ahead and decommit from one school to go elsewhere, that doesn't mean your career is going to flourish, but we often forget about that with coaches. Brian Harsin is a perfect example of this. Harsin had it made at Boise State. He was very well respected by the university. He was consistently leading the team all the way to Mountain West Conference titles. They were ranked inside the AP top 25, and they even were a team that was mentioned a lot for New Year's Six Bowls. But he takes the job at Auburn, and 2 years later, he has shown the door. Not even 2 years later, he has shown the door. The NFL doesn't owe Harbaugh anything. The NFL can do whatever the hell it wants. And then you talk about owners like David Tepper right now, who's throwing drinks at fans in Jacksonville because of how pissed off he is at his team, even though you're the one making the hires and you're the one making the selections in the draft and you're the one bringing in the right personnel to change your roster. And you think Harbaugh wants to go to that. But again, he wants to go to a team where the expectations are grander than ever before, when you already have it made in Ann Arbor. In Ann Arbor, if he wins on Monday night and they end up seeing the confetti fall in the maize and blue, a statue will be built of Jim Harbaugh right outside of Michigan Stadium. Every single time he walks into the big house, he will be greeted with a euphoric praise and the sounds of Michigan faithful finally saying thank you for getting us back to the mountaintop. He'll have all of that in Michigan. If he loses, well, he comes back next year and he does the same thing all over again. And maybe that's the year they win. Or in 2025, that's the year they win. But if he goes to the NFL, maybe he's got 5 years. Maybe he's got 10 years. Maybe he's got 2. And then he's fired because of the roster construction, the infrastructure built inside the locker room isn't as stable as it was in Michigan because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Now, there are some pros when it comes to the NFL. Number one, name your asking price. Name your asking price, and that's going to be what owners have to pay. When you are Jim Harbaugh and you do have it made at Michigan and you know that there is a contract on the table, you are a betting man. And you recently just kind of showed your cards by hiring Don Yee. For those of you that don't know in the world of the NFL, Don Yee is a pretty prominent agent. He worked with Tom Brady and got him massive deals and also out of New England to land in Tampa. That was what Don Yee did. So you're hiring an NFL agent to rework your contract, but is that contract for the NFL? And at that point, basically, it's plain and simple. They're paying you $11 million to coach in Ann Arbor. What are you going to make at the NFL level? 12 per year? Maybe it's a 5-year deal instead of an 11-year deal. I think you'll be content making $55 million over the course of 5 seasons, as you would get 125 over 11 seasons, which you may have never even finished the contract. Number 2, if you're proven that you can win at the collegiate level and the NFL level, there is a special place in coaching lore for you. And Harbaugh's one of the few, the proud and the bold, that has been able to strut his stuff and say that. Pete Carroll is probably the other most prominent name in the history of recent memory when it comes to ability to win at both levels. Killing it with the Seahawks, won a Super Bowl, killed it at USC, won a national title, is going to go down in history as one of the best coaches in college football of the 90s and early 2000s. Going to go down in the NFL history as one of the greatest coaches of the 2010s. Harbaugh's already taken his team to multiple NFC championships, and he's taken them to a Super Bowl appearance where he lost to his brother, but bygones be bygones. He thought he would be back. He's proven he can get the best version of a roster and turn it around in an instant. This was a team that just 2 years prior was one of the worst in the NFL, and then they were in the NFC Championship game, and then they were in the Super Bowl, and then they went back to the NFC Championship game, and at the very end, things just went south in San Fran to where Harbaugh wanted a fresh start elsewhere, and that's why he took the job in Ann Arbor. But he's proven he can win at the NFL level. He's proven he can win at the collegiate level. So there is a doorstep with his name on it saying, welcome to the elite coaches in the world of football. Here's your gold jacket. Don't let the door hit you on your way in. We got a bunch of goodies for you waiting here. And if he wins a Super Bowl at the next level, his legacy is really secure in both spots. Changes the culture of Ann Arbor and changes the culture of an NFL team. And the third and final thing, recruiting. You don't have to deal with the NCAA. That's what's really going to decide this, in my opinion. Because Harbaugh realizes that if he comes back next year, there are still going to be the NCAA ramifications about what happened with the sign stealing scandal. Oh, he got a 3-game suspension. Yeah, he got that. That was for this year, not for next year or for what happens in the future. And so Michigan, looking at this picture, could say to themselves, we're going to sign into a big deal. If he is going to be here, he also has to stick around for longer than 2024 because he may not be coaching in 2024. And if we're going to pay an egregious amount for him to be the head coach, we expect buy-in for the long term. The NCAA is not going away quietly with this thing, people. It's not at the front lines because Michigan right now is leading their way to a national championship. The way that they've been playing and the way that they've been handling business, no one's bringing it up, but it still happened. It still is going to be brought to the people's attention. And at some point, it is going to have to be let out in the open. So Harbaugh could simply say to himself, I don't like recruiting in the month of July. I don't like recruiting in the month of December. I don't like recruiting in the month of March. I like having off time at this point in my career. I'll get that in the NFL. I won't have to deal with the bureaucrats who are ruining college football, and I won't have to deal with the mediocrity of people saying I failed to meet expectations. I can go to the NFL, have off time, have time with my family that I've earned at this point, and I can still win a Super Bowl and go down as one of the greatest coaches of the 21st century. All that's on display. So those are the pros when it comes to Jim Harbaugh. The thing that I think will decide this on top of the NCAA ruling, if they ever hear about it, which we probably won't until after the championship, does he win? If he wins, what's more there to prove? You won a national title as a coach. You brought your team all the way back to the promised land. You now have set up a roster that is going to be built to win titles for here on out. And it does feel like the man in charge waiting in the wings is more than ready to take over in Sharon Moore. What more do I have to prove at the collegiate level? What more do I have to show college football to where I know that I am secure with my legacy? What more do I have to do for Michigan for people to realize I am a 1 in a million type guy? And if he feels like that he's done enough, then he's going to go to the NFL. If he feels like he hasn't done enough, then he'll come back and he'll continue to win titles and he'll do everything possible to make Michigan what Alabama has become, what Georgia is envisioning itself to be. Dynasty programs that are always going to be a threat to win every single season. Whether or not they have the right recruits, whether or not they lose talent via the portal, it doesn't matter because the way the roster is constructed carries more weight than anything that you lose or gain via the portal. That's where I think Harbaugh sits. And Harbaugh is a weirdo, guys. Harbaugh is truly 1 in a million when it comes to his personality. The guy's on the sidelines throwing footballs with quarterbacks while wearing gloves. He walks into a recruit's houses with gloves on and he's smiling and he's taking photos like the madman. He drinks milk with his steak. The guy is made different than you and I. His brain is completely rewired. But you know what the good thing is? He is a college football aficionado. If you eat, live, and breathe this sport, I hate to break it to you. Welcome on into the party, brothers, sisters. We are weirdos. We're nuts. We care about things of college level when it's March and the season's been over for 2 months. We care about hearing about news coming out when it comes to the transfer portal and quarterback battles and spring practice and who is entering and coming to a new school after spring football. We're nuts, and Jim Harbaugh lives for that stuff. So if he does feel like this is the perfect place for him, he'll sign that contract and he'll be in Ann Arbor for the foreseeable future. But if he feels like he's done enough, he's going to go pro. Which way do I lean right now? I'm sure that that's what most people are wondering. I think if I were to be a betting man, he wins on Monday. And an NFL team is willing to meet the same annual salary as Michigan. He will take an NFL job. I think he wants to get back to the next level, and he doesn't want to have to deal with the ramifications of the NCAA ruining a sport where he got caught doing something negative, even though he has denied it. And other teams throughout the history of college football have always found a way to cheat in some way, shape, or form. If he loses, I think he comes back for another season. I'm almost vehemently positive that he wants to come back. That championship will mean more to the Harbaugh family and to Harbaugh's ego and his persona in the world of college football than any contract offered by an NFL team. Ultimately, if he walks away a winner, I think he walks away from Ann Arbor. If he walks away a loser, Ann Arbor kind of wins because they're not having to hit the reset button on the most important position outside of quarterback for a football roster to be successful. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.